Welcome to Good Burger Reviews. My name is John, and I'm here to review a brand new 2026 movie, and that movie is Ice Cream Man.
What happened?
Someone hurt my mommy.
Who?
Me.
This movie was released in August of 2026. It is directed by Eli Roth. It stars Ari Millen, Darian Baker, Eli Roth, Benjamin Barris Davis, Karen Cliche, and Ryan Allen. Basic premise: an idyllic summer town descends into madness when an ice cream man serves kids sweet delights with horrifying results. So I was able to get an early screening of Ice Cream Man, and I was super excited about this one because it's directed by Eli Roth. This man is known for doing movies like Cabin Fever, Hostel, recently Thanksgiving. He's also creating like a new distribution company called the Horror Section, which seems to be releasing lots of B movies. And his most recent release was Ice Cream Man. This story about an ice cream man who shows up in this summer town, Baleen Bay. So let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly on Ice Cream Man to see if it's worth the watch while it's in theaters. Now, when I think of Ice Cream Man, I primarily think of a movie blend. But let's just say this movie isn't like a direct blend of many movies, but it's more like flavors, the flavors you have. And it's kind of ironic, this movie's about ice cream, and the movie is giving me flavors of movies from the past. So there was a movie in 1995 called The Ice Cream Man. This is not a reboot, remake, or attached to it in any way. It's just the main similarity is the title, and it features an ice cream man. But other movies that blend or have flavors in this movie are movies like Night of the Living Dead, Weapons, Children of the Corn, and a streamer that I reviewed recently called The Confession. So we'll get into that as I feel each flavor comes up in the movie. The main thing that I'll put in the positives is I really enjoyed the color code or the bright, vivid colors of this movie. For a movie that's supposed to be horrifying and sadistic and gory, it takes place for the majority of the time during the day. It's beautiful throughout most of the scenes, but also the town is just very vivid. There's lots of colors with the colors of the clothes that the people are wearing, the playgrounds that the scenes take place in, the ice cream truck, the baseball team.
Turn us. We have to run.
You can't just kill him.
Which will lead me to like how this town kind of was. This town was kind of strange in the sense of that it felt like it was from the past, but also had that modern feel to it as well. And what I mean by that is a lot of these adult characters and even some of the kids, it felt like it was anywhere between the 1950s, 1960s, even the 70s and 80s in points. You know, where you have this old school feeling, traditional feeling. But then a modern feeling because the kids are on cell phones, they are modern day kids, this is taking place in present day. But, when I watched that movie, The Confession, there was like a whole throwback to the 1950s, and that's where there was like this good humor man. Well, this Ice Cream Man gives that vibe, like Ice Cream Man, Milkman, things that were present in these times. I think part of it is just that small town vibe as well. Like there's this one scene where there's like a little like general store where they just sell small little things, and that was giving me like a 1950s, late 1950s, early 1960s vibes. But then at the same time, the young cast and even some of the middle-aged cast is talking in verbiage of today, using words like cringe and bro and just all sorts of modern day slang and terms.
You guys see that weird ice cream man today?
What do you mean weird?
He just kept popping up, like he was following me. Is everyone sick or something?
Another thing I'll put in the positives is just the special effects, the gore, the intensity of the entire, not just the gore, but the entire situation. I mean, this town literally breaks into chaos at a point. That's what was giving me like the Night of the Living Dead or like the zombie apocalypse vibe. And, you know, I chose Night of the Living Dead, you know, an older school movie, because these ice cream kids, these kids who get like possessed or infected by the ice cream that they eat, they kind of turn into these like ice cream children zombies, and they march around really slow and what seems almost like brainless. But they're, you know, they had good makeup, and like the ice cream that was like smushed on their faces kind of looked like they were sick from it. You know, it was really neat in the way it all kind of blends together. And you know, when the town's erupting in chaos, there's just so much going on, and there's so much that he leans into the silliness and the ridiculousness of this concept, because you know, the kids eat the ice cream and they turn into a village of zombies, and you know, they're killing all the adults. I mean, it was more comical than I would think. You know, when I think of Thanksgiving had a much more serious and much more horrific tone. This movie has a lighter tone to it, a campier feel. And I was jiving with that campy feel. Overall, I did like the presence of the ice cream man. He wasn't really like a slasher. To be honest, he was more reminded me of, his role seemed to be like Aunt Gladys from Weapons. Even though he didn't talk, he didn't do much. So he kind of roamed around, kind of like Michael Myers and the serial killer would from the 80s. But his sadistic plan was more of an Aunt Gladys plan. Because basically, once these kids eat the ice cream, they start walking around like zombies. And it was giving me like this Weapons Squared vibe.
Every other class had all their kids. But Mrs. Gandy's room was totally empty. And you know why? Because the night before, at 2:17 in the morning, every kid woke up, got out of bed, walked downstairs, and into the dark. And they never came back.
But I liked the way he looked. He was always just kind of oddly smiling and always alluring to the children, which was another thing that was similar to the Confession movie, which was like a Pied Piper haunting slasher. That one was kind of a mix of all tones. But, you know, this guy was really creepy. You know, he just would lean over and smile and hand kids ice cream and then just relish in the carnage as it started to unravel. The ice cream man himself did not do too much of like the direct killing, but he did move or get involved with the plot, or like the way the kids that aren't possessed are kind of getting in their way. I also liked how it kind of gave me the Children of the Corn vibe, where it was, you know, that B movie from the 80s, and that movie had all the kids taking over the town and killing the adults. So, you know, there was that similar vibe, so similar flavor, as I've been saying. I'm going to let that lead me to the one thing that I'm kind of mixed on in this movie. So this movie kind of had a big backstory, and like there's like an exposition dump, and we come to find out that it kind of reminds me of how Freddy Krueger had like a big backstory, and like you know, it's involved in the past with the parents, and they kill him, and it's very similar type of story.
You want to know who Fred Krueger was? He was a filthy child murderer who killed at least 20 kids in the neighborhood. Kids we all knew. Crazy when we didn't know who it was. But it was even worse after they got him. Oh, the lawyers got fat and the judge got famous, but Somebody forgot to sign the search warrant in the right place, and Kruger was free just like that. A bunch of us parents tracked him down after they let him out. We found him in an old abandoned boiler room where he used to take his kids. Took gasoline. We poured it all around the place and made a trail of it out the door. Then lit the whole thing up and watched it burn. But he can't get you now. He's dead, honey, because Mommy killed him.
So the Ice Cream Man, he pretty much had a Freddy Krueger backstory with a Gladys master plan and his little army of ice cream zombies. So the other thing I'll put in the mix is, you know, the extreme gore. So I'm always going to be mixed when it comes to Eli Roth and like these extreme for shock value type of gores, where even though this movie was very fun and there was lots of chaos in it, which I enjoyed that part, some of the like extreme gore where there's just like smashing heads and kids eating brains and disemboweling people and just doing like really sadistic stuff, which was neat, but it was like sometimes it's just gore and shock for shock value. Like, let's see how far we can push the limits where, you know, people can be like, oh damn. And sometimes I get the fun in this type of thing because, you know, back in the 80s we'd watch movies like this and then we'd show it to our friends and say, oh yeah, this movie's so great, wait till you see this part, wait till you see what he does and this and that. You know, sometimes it can be fun, but sometimes it's just gross. And I'll let that lead me to the negatives. So the negatives basically is the lore dump as a whole. It's in the beginning of the third act. You know, it just was executed in an odd way. From, of course, it's always just a random older character that knows where this Ice Cream Man came from, what he's all about, why he's in town, and basically spills the bean to the main kids that are kind of trying to solve the equation. There's like 3 to 5 kids like 3 little kids and like 2 teenagers that are that didn't get the Ice Cream Man, or they threw up the ice cream so it didn't infect them, and they kind of play like zombie apocalypse with all these kids in this entire town. And there's something else that's part of it that I'll have to elaborate in spoilers. I just thought this movie had a very campy and fun tone, and just like Freddy Krueger's backstory, it's very dark and you know, sadistic and just dreary type of scenario. And it kind of just causes a tonal shift in the whole movie as we're getting this exposition dump. You know, we've been talking about these movies where we explain our killers too much, we explain our antagonists too much, and it just takes away from the mystery and the lore and the scariness of just some vague villain showing up to town and just causing chaos. I think sometimes you can just kind of let the mystery be. You know, you're not going to get a plot. You're not going to get characters with much about them. So let's make this make a little bit more sense by getting into the spoilers. This movie is going to be overall a recommend for me. It is playing in theaters, but you've been warned. Spoilers. So this movie basically focuses on a core family. You have the dad played by Eli Roth, and I think the wife was played by Karen. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but it looks like cliche. That can't be right. But anyhow, Karen was the mother in, I believe she was the mother in Thanksgiving, the one that gets baked in the oven. And they're the parents of their teenage daughter and their young son, who's like this little baseball player. And the opening scene is like these kids playing baseball, and that's when the Ice Cream Man shows up. Basically, there's this whole like Bad News Bears. It was like Bad News Bears, right? So like these two teams are playing. Like, it's typical 1980s baseball, but you know, we're in 2026. The game ends, you know, typical sports movie moment with, you know, some kid hitting a good hit, the other kid messing up, and the other kid runs the bases, blah, 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 right? And then all the teams go and get ice cream. Now the movie is instantly comical because the kids are foul-mouthed, they're rotten to each other, they're just comical, right? These kids definitely are going to push the envelope. Ice Cream Man rolls into town, starts serving the ice cream. Now, there was really no reason for our main kid to suspect our final kid, because this movie has a final kid, or maybe a final batch of kids, to suspect that there was anything wrong with this ice cream man, except for, the kids are eating the ice cream and everything seems to go fine. Now, guess what? Our main kid, he doesn't eat the ice cream because he's lactose intolerant. So he escapes this wicked plan. And it takes a while, I guess, for the ice cream to affect, but okay, so the ice cream affects everyone differently. Basically, if you're an adult and you eat the ice cream, you kind of just go into a coma, or I don't even think any of the adults ate the ice cream. So, but the teenagers who are almost adults, they are the ones that kind of more go into just like a coma. Their bodies get weak, their muscles don't work. But anyone who's a kid basically becomes this little ice cream zombified demon that runs around and sadistically kills everyone, mainly the adults. So, even though I said most of the movies is bright and during the day, it starts to unravel at night, and then it goes into the next day, and this is where it was giving me the Weapons vibe, because our kid goes to school and it's all mysterious. It's like hardly anyone is showing up to school. The kids that are showing up to school, they're walking around like zombies. And I guess the adults didn't suspect as much of anything because there's this whole discussion about it being skip day and many of the kids wouldn't be there and so forth. But it's very comical with how the kids behave in the classrooms, and it somewhat alludes to how kind of kids are being today. We saw a little bit of this in Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, where kids are like obsessed with their phones, they're ignoring the teachers, and the teachers are kind of like frustrated with the kids, typical for the school systems right now. And I know because I have a teenager in high school. Anyhow, once these kids start killing, it just slowly evolves into like this apocalyptic feeling of so many people are dying. I can't even keep track of how many deaths there are. So for the whole second act, it's just tons of chaos, tons of murders, and they are brutal, sadistically gross, some of them. I think one that stands out is they cut like the principal's head off and they literally feed him his own brains. So, that's the level that's Eli Roth. This is like Hostel for kids. So all the kids, our final kid, our main kid, the lactose intolerant kid, he basically teams up with like one of his friends. It seemed like they weren't like close friends, just like one kid that didn't eat the ice cream, another girl who spit it up, and then we have his sister who's kind of paralyzed from the ice cream, and they tell her, oh yeah, gag yourself on a toothbrush and you can throw it up and you'll be fine, and she pretty much does it. That was a kind of bizarre scene because she's all over the map trying to get to this toothbrush. Anyhow, and then she's got this boyfriend that's also a teenager, or like a love interest or whatever, and these 5 kids basically tackle the town, and it's all taking place in the school and like in the neighborhoods, and they find out that they're going to go hide at this church. And when they go hide at this church, they decide they're going to hide in this church, and these kids and the ice cream man kind of all follow them to the church. But when they get into the church, there's this like basement where there's this like walk-in freezer, which one of the kids said, why is there a walk-in freezer in the church basement? But churches have freezers, so that's not too unheard of. But in the walk-in freezer, there is this priest that was in there, and he's the one that drops the backstory. And the backstory is little kids back in the day were being touched inappropriately by someone in the town, and they needed a fall guy. And they basically blamed the ice cream man because he was foreign, he didn't have any connections, he didn't have any money to get a lawyer, and they convinced all the kids in the town to basically testify against this guy, and then he gets punished for these crimes that he's innocent of. So this is where we're kind of getting a little bit of a sympathetic villain, because it all starts off with him just being an ice cream man. But somehow this story evolves to... So it turns out that our main family is connected to this because their grandfather was the lawyer that put him away, and the parents were some of the kids that testified against him. Eli Roth and wife. Right? So the kids learn this really bizarre way of what they need to do to make this go away. So they have to dig up some corpse, which is called the necromancer. I think that's what it was called. Anyhow, this zombified corpse in this cemetery got to be dug up, decapitated. You can't look at the head. You have to make the ice cream man look at the head, and it makes him die. Like, it'll make him go away. It was long and complicated, right? They kind of leaned into how crazy it was, because the more and more he told it, the kids are like, we got to do this and we got to do that, we got to do what? So, you know, for the most part, it's predictable, right? This whole storyline, once you kind of understand what's going on, it's fairly predictable. However, this movie did try to pull like a plot twist, and I'm not sure how great the plot twist really is, or if this was really needed. But, you know, this is where I thought the tone kind of changed and it got somber, because, like, the priest in the town was basically molesting little boys. And I thought, you know, I just said something similar to this in my Evil Dead franchise ranking, where I don't dislike the discussion, you know, when you want to call out creepy people, you know, priests in the church who do this stuff, and it's a real thing, you know. It just didn't seem to fit with how campy and funny this movie was being. And then to have this, like, bizarre moment of, you know, we're learning that the priest, you know, molested all the little boys. It's like, it's just a tonal shift right here. But it just shifts into that for a little bit during the backstory, and then it goes back to the crazy campy fun. The plot twist is this. When they get to the cemetery, the daughter and the son, they flip over the thing, and there's two bodies, or there's two, what seem to be two corpses in this, whatever you call it, coffin or whatever, and they cut off the heads. Now the bodies are moving around, you know, and it doesn't work on the ice cream man. And then when they take off the blankets or whatever they were covered in, it turns out that they had beheaded their parents. So this whole twist was the ice cream man did get his revenge by taking over the town and killing the kids, the people who testified on him. So, you know, it's kind of like Freddy. Freddy got blamed for the similar things, and the parents burned him, and then he came back and haunted the town. It was just kind of like the reverse, you know. The kids got haunted. In this one, the kids are doing the haunting and the killing. We're going to get down to business on this one, because overall, I had fun with this. I feel like it's getting roasted in the reviews, which was surprising to me, because I enjoyed it. You know, and I guess kind of like Osgood Perkins, Eli Roth is a specific flavor. You either like him or you don't. Now, I can be mixed about him, but overall in this movie, I really liked it. I mean, I enjoyed Thanksgiving. It was a mixed bag for me with how extreme it was, but I loved that slasher. And here, it's the same thing. You know, this one's got a little bit of a different, more campier tone. And the funny thing is the mouthy girl that was in Thanksgiving, that was in the Walmart scene, it was cussing like a Navy sailor, and she was hilarious with her thick Boston accent in that one. She plays one of the mothers in this movie, and she wasn't as funny in this one, but she was pretty funny. This one is a good burger. I really enjoyed it. I just love the chaos. I love the the weapons meets zombie apocalypse feeling that this movie was giving, the complete chaos. You know, you're not going to get a plot. You're not going to get characters with much about them. You're going to get a B type of horror movie with extreme gore and campy funniness. And this is the first time I've seen Eli Roth starring in one of his own films. I'm sure he may have been in some in the past, but I enjoyed him and his character. Anyhow, that's it. Please like, subscribe, tap that notification bell, all that jazz. And don't forget to stay scared of those sadistic ice cream men with sadistic plans like Aunt Gladys.